them in. However, let's move ahead. My name is John Bales. I'm president of the ICCE and very pleased to be your host for today's webinar. We hope you're all staying safe and healthy in these challenging times, and hope that everybody, we're all following the health regulations and advice to help us get beyond these challenges and back to the sports and activities that we love as soon as possible. The topic for today's webinar is Working Together Helps Us All Get Better, the Nordic Coaching Community of Practice. And we're delighted to have an incredibly experienced, expert, and highly committed group of practitioners with us today. In my role with ICCE, I've had the privilege to work with many of these professionals and have been very impressed with how open and innovative they have been in striving to improve coaching in their countries. And today we'll hear that part of the reason for their success is their collaboration and commitment to working together. Before we start, if you could just note the guidelines on the screen, please keep your camera and your mic off. There's the chat function at the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions that you want to ask, we'll primarily get to those towards the end of the webinar. And we are recording the webinar today as well. So to kick things off, it's a great pleasure to introduce Kirsi Hämäläinen from the Finnish Olympic Committee. Kirsi works tirelessly in the development of coaches and coach developers. She's a founding member of the ICCE, so we go a long way back together. And she's currently the ICCE Vice President for Europe. Over to you.
Thank you, John. I also wish you welcome to listen our story. So the topic today is cooperation between different countries in coach development, and we'll introduce you the case Nordic countries. We have several speakers. We have Kent Lindahl from Sweden. From Norway, we have Antero Vallinus-Rinne and Jon Krudeland. From Iceland, we have Vidar Sigurd Jönsson. And from Denmark, Jonas Vestergaard Jensen, and then from Finland, my colleague Pia Pekonen. The other members of the group who are not present right now are Maria Ståhl, John Anders Björkøy, and Minna Blomqvist. And we all work at the central sport organizations in our countries. I just share you the screen. Nordic countries are all quite small nations, and the societies share similar cultural background and values. In sport, we are each other's dearest enemies, and for us Finns, there's actually nothing better than beat Sweden in sport. But we are all also quite small, and our sport organizations are also small, and quite often the situation is that there is nobody in your own country who is doing exactly the same job as you are. So if you want to share your thoughts, the nearest colleague comes from the neighbor country. And we decided to start this group at 2011 when we were participating in the ICCE Global Coaches Conference in Paris. Before that, there was a meeting with some of the coaches in 2011, and it started quite easily. We were just chatting on a cup of coffee, or maybe it was beer, I'm not sure. And we were talking that this might be a good idea. There were Norwegians and Swedes and us from Finland over there. And just when we were talking, the Danish guys just walked by and we introduced the idea, and actually said that we just decided that you are going to organize the first meeting. And it was fine for them. So it was easy like that. And in the first meeting, Iceland couldn't make it. So we decided that the next meeting will be in Iceland. So all participated almost voluntarily for the first 2 meetings. In the beginning, we had meetings twice a year, and nowadays we meet once a year and have website meetings in between. And first it was more sharing and introducing what kind of work we are doing, but nowadays we start to more and more work together. The key elements for this is trust. And to create a trust, we need to know each other, we need to be open, and we need to be willing to share. And that is what we have working on during these years. And now I just give over first to Antero, Jon from Norway and Vidar from Iceland, and ask them to tell a little bit what we have actually done. So Antero, will you start? You have to open your microphone.
Yeah, can you take away the slide, Kirsi, so I can? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hello everybody. I want to talk a little bit about the structure of our meeting and shortly what we have done together. And I will be accompanied by my colleague from Norway and Vidar from Iceland after that. Actually, we call ourselves the Nordic Coaching Council when we meet, and that idea, Kent Lindahl from Sweden is very fond of that, but we didn't make it official yet. But like Kirsi said, we have a meeting every year, 2-day meeting actually, with a rotating system of being the host country. The language we use is English, and when we had our last meeting in Oslo in September, Holmenkollen Ski Jump Arena, and because of that, not because of that, but because of the COVID-19 situation, we decided to move the 2020 meeting to Reykjavik in Iceland to the spring 2021. So we also affected of this cooperation, but we do work digitally between during regularly, so that helps us to keep in touch. The host country is always responsible for arrangement. That means to recommend arranged accommodation, meals, and social activity. According to the meeting agenda, we do that together, but the host country brings the keynotes, officials, or other contributors to those meetings. What we actually do during the meetings is sharing information about what's new in the coaching front from each country. We also discuss if there are some projects we can do together and work with those projects we have started. So we share research information done in the coaching field, and what is very nice is the sharing questions for using different surveys in each country. And that helps us to just look how we can compare a little bit how it looks like in every country in the research field. We also invite other people to the meetings to give us input from the specific theme, or those who have a good story to tell to bring us forward and updated. It could be coaches, people from different federations, researchers, sports officials, and others. One visit we had was in 2014. It was Ladislav Petrovic. He visited us in 2014 in Oslo. So he had also been telling us what ICCE is doing, but also what we are doing. We gave him information and feedback back to ICCE. I will now pass the ball to our good colleague in Iceland, Vidar, and he can tell more about how Iceland, how he feels about the cooperation in the Nordic group.
Thank you, Antero. Hi there, everybody. It's really a privilege to be here, and I hope you're all doing well. I think there are so many ways that the Nordic countries benefit from this collaboration. It's a simple fact that our different experience and the knowledge that we share has given us in Iceland new ideas and possibility to add to our system and education for coaches in so many ways. And I sure hope it goes for the other countries too. I do use my new knowledge and speculations according to that that come from this collaboration in my meetings and work back home that definitely affect my and our decisions here in Iceland in which way we are going in education for coaches. But I do look at this Nordic group as kind of teamwork group. As Casey said, we are now more working together as a team. And I think we have a lot to do in that area for the coming years. We will be creating some great projects and we will work on and gain and benefit from them. Not long ago, I searched the internet for information on Google about the importance of teamwork. So many things that I found out there were more or less what I have been gaining and benefit from in this great Nordic teamwork. First of all, teamwork can make you happier. If you're happy, you are more productive, and having a happy employees is a worthwhile goal in itself, really. I am always happy during and after our meetings and work. That's clearly a benefit from what we are doing. When you work in a team, you grow as an individual. I really feel that this collaboration helps me, myself, to grow as a person and in my job as well, which is good for my association. Recognition from other team members can improve your productivity, so you're more likely to go the extra mile at work if you get your work recognized. I totally agree to that. When you work in a team, you feel less stressed. The Nordic team has a good energy where we encourage and inspire each other, and we sure have fun together. That's part of it. This makes me feel less stressed, not only when we are working together in our group, but also in the coming days and weeks at work. At last but not least, good communication boosts your creativity. I think communication in this team is very open and collaborative, and that is certainly something that boosts the creativity in my work overall. One thing that is really important is that I feel that I have a lot to say in this group, but I also feel that I have a lot to learn from. And when I'm feeling both, then I'm feeling good, and then I know I'm making progress in my work. So therefore, I'm looking forward to further collaboration in development and education for coaches, and will gladly take part in our Nordic group in the coming years, and looking forward for our next meeting here in Iceland. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidar. Hello, everybody. My name is John. I'm also working in this Nordic group from Norway. And I just want to say it's not just the group members that are presented here. I'm just going to give you an example of, we presented a project that we're doing on in Norway on trying to lift our grassroots coaches. And based on our presentation in the group, I was contacted from a different part of the Finnish development departments that was working on a safeguarding project. So now we're working with other people within the Finnish community on that project. And it's not the same, they're just similar. And bringing back what Kirsi said, you know, this group, the countries here are in sporting history are the biggest competitors. So cooperating together is not usual. You know, you have all the jokes and all the different history on with the Swedes for us again and the Danes, and we're now using that also, because now I told my Finnish colleagues that we're planning to do this program mandatory, and then they can go back to their stakeholders and say, well, the Norwegians they're planning to do it mandatory, so what should we do? And then they're only doing it, mandatory 10 minutes, so we should do it mandatory 30 minutes. So we kind of build up on that rivalry to also make the product better and push our stakeholders. So it's not just the group; it really branches out differently now, and it's great to see how that is moving forward. So that's just one of the stories I'd like to share. Anterel, you also had a project with our emerging coaches that you wanted to talk about. I give the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I would say we have a project we call emerging top coaches. We did together in 2018. It started 2018, 2019, and where each country selected 5 emerging next generation top coaches to this project. That was an idea we started with. How can we do can we do something together, and then bringing the coaches in. And the purpose of the program was to provide further education and network opportunity for the coaches from the Nordic countries. And the purpose was further to qualify the coaches for coaching talented athletes at a high national level within a specific sport. The coaches was given an opportunity to create a new network, share knowledge, and learn from each other, and to be inspired to transform knowledge into practice in new ways. After the selection process done in each country, each country held a national gathering with the selected coaches, and the main task was to create and develop the group's own project and share it then together. When we had a Nordic meeting actually at Olympiatoppen in Norway in January 2019. After each country, there was done reflections and discussions with other coaches. After each country had brought their presentations, there was lots of reflecting work done together and discussions. And it was really nice to see the interaction between the coaches. And after the Oslo meeting, each country gathered again their coaches to evaluate the program. About the outcome of the course, it was like we want to give the coaches improved knowledge about skills related to the role to be a talent coach. And I wanted to also give them an international Nordic view and perspectives of talent development, like concerning the role of the coach, training methods, etc. So that was one of the outcomes, and also obtaining a critical and reflective approach to talent development. So that was one of the outcomes we had. And when we worked with the teaching of working methods, the program was organized as an interaction between lectures from experts. There was some group works. There was, like I told you before, discussions, casework, as well as work assignments. Visits to different training environments, testing and training facilities was also done. And they got lots of inputs from the Olympiatoppen's coaches who is working with elite athletes, and that was really nice to see. About the cost of this kind of project, it's we applied the support from the Olympic Solidarity, and we got $10,000. One country has to apply, and it was the host country here, it was Norway. And also, when we applied by the money, there's needs to be supported by the ICCE for this kind of coaching program. Also, each country paid their own travels to Oslo, and each country, all the participants paid an additional €100 each for the accommodation, meal, and other stuff. So that was shortly about one of the projects we have been working with. So thank you for that. Kent, can you take over this relay.
Yes, my name is Kent Lindahl, and I'm participating in the Nordic group together with my great colleague Maria Ståhl, and also some ideas and visions about how we can develop this collaboration and cooperation. So it's a little bit of thinking of Nordic against the rest of the world concept. We are in the middle of all the Nordic countries, and if we have countries that are looking at us as enemies, we don't like to be in the middle. But why don't transform it into seeing each other as friends? We are 5 countries, but we could act as a family together. There are small countries, and in the big picture, we are working with almost the same things. There are small sport organizations, low budgets, and limited resources. But as Casey said, we have similar organizations, cultures, and interests of sports. But how can we connect smart and competent people and organizations, building bridges between our countries? We want to have a better youth sport, elite sport, better coach education, more Olympic medals. And from my point of view, we also would like to develop the best early career system in the world. I think the psychology and pedagogical key question is, instead of compete, how can we make each other's better? All countries do their own individual and internal analysis. What are we good at? What can we improve, and so on. But how often do we ask a neighbor country, would you like to do an analysis on us and help us trying to be better? I think it's a very key question and an interesting approach to build those bridges between the Nordic countries, and a little bit fighting the global army race. It's not that easy anymore to do and have international success. Looking at this emerging coaches project, one of the picked coaches was the national coach from the Federation of Taekwondo in Sweden, Johan Berg. He really liked and had good experiences of the meeting we had at Olympiatoppen. So when he came home, he sat down and developed a concept of contacting the other federations of Taekwondo in the Nordic countries, building up a vision that they together should take the first Olympic medal in Paris 2024. So he already started the concrete connecting, and he wants to have that they're doing camps together, coaching education, that they can learn from each other's, doing performance analysis, and above all, sharing knowledge and experiences. So it will be interesting to see if they can make this project successful. And you can ask yourself, is it better for the Taekwondo of Sweden trying to do their best to get the medal in Paris? Or what will happen thinking about this collaboration, the Nordic family together against the world? Would they have and will they be better because of this collaboration and cooperation to improve themselves in reaching this goal in Paris 2024? I don't know, but this is a little bit of a vision, perspectives of doing a better collaboration in the Nordic countries.
Great. And now I give over to Jonas from Denmark, who is the newest member of the group and can give his insight, what is his first impressions of this kind of group working?
Yes, thank you, Kirsty, and hello everyone. As Kirsty mentioned, I'm Jonas, I'm the Danish sidekick to the network, and I will try present my thoughts of being the newest member of the coaching community. Back in December 2019, I was employed by the NOC and Sports Confederation of Denmark with a broad working portfolio. The job description varies from being a consultant for the national sports federations to organize the Olympic operation for the Danish delegation, and to work with the development of coach education in Danish elite sport as my main expertise area. I'm a part of a team whose main field is talent development and elite sport. However, I'm the only one in our team working with coach education and coach developer. Thus, I mainly work single-handedly when working on the Danish coach development pathway. When I started back in December, I was strongly recommended to get involved in this Nordic network because the experience in our organization has been that it has yielded a great benefit to the work of coach education before. So besides not being a lonely writer, my, however, sporadic experience of the network is that it contributes with valuable feedback on my work and conversations in general. This includes the overall reflections on, for example, future direction of coach development, and more practical how-to reflections about, for example, what the IT system is used for e-learning. Currently, I am working on revisiting our level 3 coach education, and I see a lot of benefits to be gained from the feedback and collaboration with my Nordic like-minded in this matter. What I expect and already have experienced to be the most valuable benefits, and as Kirsty mentioned earlier on, are the cultural similarities between our countries and communities. I dare to postulate that the Nordic countries have quite the same values when it comes to sports participation in general, as well as for my main area of focus on coach development in elite sport. Not that a more cultural diverse network would be impossible, but I think the similarities makes it a lot easier to have both the abstract and concrete discussions about the area of interest. I am, of course, full of positive expectations, and I'm looking forward to become an even bigger part of the network. So that was a few thoughts of mine. Thank you, and I will pass it back to Kirsty.
Yeah, thanks. And John just said that there are a couple of questions, so could you bring those?
Yeah, just a couple of questions before we go on with some other sections. But first of all, there's often, especially in high performance sport, a tendency to keep things secret that some people are reluctant to share because they think it's better to keep secrets and keep what they know to themselves. Do you run into that issue where you're trying to really all get better within your group, but still are competing against one another?
Is anybody willing to address this?
I can do it. I think you're bullseye on that question, because it's in the nature of a sport, competing to each other's and balance it on the improvement of sports. But I think it's important to experience that you can be even more better if you start to cooperate and have a good collaboration between the countries. I think in the Nordic family, of course, it will be more sensitive if you're looking at ski sports, that we all have a big tradition in, the big football, of course, and so on. But I think it's interesting to see if we can change that culture a little bit in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think that of course there are secrets in high-level sports which you are not willing to share. But in the case of coach development, as I said earlier, you don't have a colleague in your own country who is doing exactly the same job. And if you want to share your ideas and give some reflections and feedback of your ideas, you have to find a colleague from the next country who is doing exactly the same job as you are. So this is why it's important. And also in sports, if you have done something already and somebody copies exactly that, that's not an advantage. But if they make it a little bit better, maybe you can learn from there. So it's I think that hasn't been a problem in our group. If somebody has something else to say, please do.
My experience is that like we do in the group, we share things. We share things about development, education, and other things. I think the secrets is not that secret, because I think in our country, the coaches and the athletes, they share things together. They are from different sports, and I think the success is that they have the kind of sharing community. And I think, like Kent said here, also that there is maybe something special in the different sports, but I think the sharing community is really quite open, and in my opinion should be also, because if you have something to hide, there is maybe something that's not that good. So I think that's really, really important to understand that if you share, what you gain from this, you share, you get something back always. And I think that's very important. And like you said, Kirsi, if there is old news, that's old news, but that's not so many secrets. All the training facilities and how to train, the methods and everything, it has been done many, many, many times. So I think it's more about openness in the organization and openness in the willing to do something together. And that's, like you started, that trust is very important, that we, and that's between us. I think that's very good.
Great, thank you. And a question from Nadim Natsif from Lebanon. Do you believe that the Nordic countries are punching above their weight in sport? So he goes on to say that even though you have small populations, you are wealthy countries, that the GDP and area and climate and scientific research are all major contributors to international sport performance, maybe more so than population. So given that balance, are the Nordic countries punching above their weight, or is this what should be expected of your countries? How's that for a challenging question?
If I start, they are measuring millions of things where they are comparing countries nowadays. Which is the happiest country, which has the best education system, which is the best place to be a mother, or whatever they think. And in all these measurements, Nordic countries are at top 10. In everything you can imagine, you can measure, but not in sport. In general, in some sports, yes, like Norway in skiing, of course, they are top. But if you are thinking all the sports, we are not there yet, and I wonder why not. So we have still something to gain in sports.
Great, thanks, Kirsi.
I can just give also the fact that we are sportified countries, if you use that word, and that means that sport is very important for it's a kind of voluntary action, and from that action there's so many young people, children and youth, and recreational sport is very wide, like in Norway, and I believe that that's one of the things that brings up some talentful athletes, coaches, and etc. And there's a possibility in the country to do sports. You know, it's not that very expensive, and those who cannot afford it, they can get help. So I think that's one of the key elements here, and that brings people forward to sports. And those who wants to try to be an elite athletes, there's also a possibility for that, but that's not that kind of systematic talent detection. So that's I think that's one of the keys as well.
Super, thanks. Kirsi, I could pass it back to you to proceed.
Yes, thanks. I thought that we could wrap this up by using Venga's value creation framework. And this is a bit simplified version for this. It has 5 levels, and this framework is created to evaluate community of practice or network. And we have used also this framework when we evaluated the emerging coaches program we ran 2 years ago. So I would like to ask the group to have comments on this. The first level of the framework is immediate value, which means that you get to know people, you get some ideas, you are inspired, and maybe sometimes it's a relief that you have somebody who understands your problem. Would you like to add something you haven't said so far on this? What kind of value you have gained on this Nordic network?
Yes, I can say something. One comment. I'm Pia Pekonen from Finland. I'm a colleague of Kirsi. And I think most valuable for me about this group is that we do something very concrete together. And if I bring some idea, I get pretty quickly some ideas and answers. We develop things together, and I think it's immediate value for me, my work.
Yeah, thanks, Pia. I have to run this a little bit quicker than we thought, but the next levels are potential value and applied value. Potential value means that you get knowledge that you might not need immediately, maybe not ever, but it's kind of nice to know. And then applied value means that you actually are applying some idea or some tool or whatever. And do we have any examples for these two?
I could give an example from Denmark, but even though it's before my time as member of the group, politically, actually, my colleague bring home some strength and argument for starting working more dedicated on e-learning, for example, in our coach education, because he knew that I think it was in Norway or otherwise in the other Nordic countries were using it a lot more, and could show the board some numbers on how many coaches is actually participating. So yeah, a strength in the argument he could bring back to the organization.
Yeah, and I will add to that also that we created our framework for coach development, coach education, Norwegian sports through a base from this Nordic cooperation, and I think that's very important. And you and that also and also the coach developers framework, what we are working with actually, and an education for the coach developers. That's also a base from the Nordic countries, and of course it's linked up to the ICCE coach developer framework, and our coaching framework is linked up to the ICCE international coaching framework. So this is a kind of things happens, and so we have picked up something from each country into our work, and like Jonas said, the e-learning is one thing we had shared with Denmark, and we have like we help each other to improve. So that's has been a applied value. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even realized value when you are talking about
Correct.
that framework, because the next level realized value means that you are actually applying something and it has positive effects. And maybe that's a good example for that. When you were building your framework, you actually visited all the other Nordic countries and picked the ideas from there. The last one is reframing value, which means that actually the work we are doing in the network affects your organization, or maybe makes your whole organization to rethink of maybe learning, or maybe, as we have been talking, that sometimes you can use the network as a political tool to get your ideas through when you are saying that actually the other Nordic countries are doing it, why don't we? So it can be a leverage for getting your ideas through in your own organization. Do you have anything to say on these two?
Maybe a short one, Casey. We in Iceland are having a working group now that's working on our framework and our education system overall. And I'm working with this group, of course. I have a certain toolbox, if we can call it that, from all our work and all our meetings in our Nordic collaboration. And I'm always getting into that toolbox in that work with my working group now, according to our framework. So we're obviously using what we have been doing and talking about in making that framework. So I think that quite fits in that frame, I hope.
Perfect, good example. Now I would like to hand over to our colleagues from Portugal. We have been asking Caroline Mendoza and Pedro, oh, I lost the last name, sorry, to have the comments on this. Could this work in your country, or would you be interested in creating this kind of network for Portugal?
Thank you, Kirsi, and thank you for this opportunity and the sharing knowledge that we've been experiencing this webinar. And thank you for the opportunity to share with you the work we've been doing in Portugal. I would just like to share with you a presentation. Am I allowed to share the presentation? Ajuda-me aqui.
Can I help you?
Yes, I want to share a file, but I cannot find it. Is it okay now?
No, you have to choose and then click share.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now it's working.
Now it is. Sorry, sorry about that. There's a big webinar mistake. I'm sorry for that. Regarding this, I would like to share with you our experience in Portugal. In Coaching Portugal, we are a confederation that gathers 23 sports coaching associations and plus 7 individual sports, other different sports. So we are the voice of the coach in Portugal. In this shared knowledge and shared teamwork that you've been talking about, and I really like to in Portugal share more of your thoughts and experience so we can learn from it, but we also have our own experience. Dealing with the government and dealing with each coaching association, which has each individual experiences and also rhythms, because each sport is different from the other. And so we try to gather all the experiences from each other. Also, we have another experience from the Coaching Lusophony, which is another coaching confederation that we coordinate. So we are talking about 7 countries in 3 continents. Both of these confederations are ICCE members. So we've been in these last 4 years, 5 years, trying to gather also a lot of experiences from all these 7 countries. One of the downsides of these groups can be that each country has its own rhythm and its own education development model, or the education sports evaluation. So, but if there is one country that can lead the process, the other countries can be involved and they can grow with that sharing. So one of the things that we are trying to do now is the coaching education model, to try to cope with the other Portuguese speaking countries, our own experience in Portugal. But it's still in the beginning, so it has 5 years of experience. And we are looking forward to the next years of work, because we also believe in teamwork, like our colleagues have been discussing. And also we can also start thinking about Mediterranean countries coaching community, like you guys have in the Nordic countries. So many of the Mediterranean countries share some cultural aspects. So maybe this could be an idea to think about in the future. And I would like to end my presentation. So this could be also the number of countries we're talking about. But I would like to end my presentation sharing with you and invite you to all to be in Lisbon in the Global Coach Conference from ICCE next June, where we could also share some experience about this topic of this webinar, and maybe put some working groups together to share other ideas.
Thank you, Caroline. That was fascinating. John, is there questions? We have time for a couple of questions still.
Yeah, so one of the questions that's come forward from Scott Murray has been about funding and whether the collaborative model has had any impact on your individual country funding bids.
Is it for us, the question?
Sorry, no, it was for the Nordic group.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least for us, no, it hasn't affected on how much funding we do have in coach development. I don't know about the others.
Not in Iceland either, I think.
Yeah, and the same in Denmark.
Same in Norway.
A question from Pedro Sequeira from Portugal, and really about your strategy with coach education at the grassroots level. What's your strategy for grassroots coaching, and have you collaborated in that area of coaching development?
I can take a quick at that one. Well, most of the work we're doing is for the grassroots, and I think one of the reasons that the high performance is quite good is, you know, most of the kids in our countries are involved in sports and are involved in sports for quite a long time, due to a youth and kids sports really value based, that we're trying to get most kids in there and really trying to hold back the high performance elements of the sports and bringing more kids enjoying the sports. And yes, we have quite rich countries, but in sports, most professions are better paid than sports. There are a few sports that are well funded, but most of them, they could do much better without doing just a normal job. So the cooperation is to really improve, and with the ICCE, with the collaborations here, we see that the coach development frameworks are much more value based and focusing on developing the kids and creating good citizens for the future, and not creating high performance athletes. And even at the highest level for Olympic sports, they even now put in another part of a gold medal without a happy athlete is not a medal we want. So it's really pushing through the whole system, and it starts with the grassroots. So that's where the real effort is put in, and it's volunteers. So we really need to try and help the volunteer coaches, keeping that in mind and pushing that forward.
Great, thanks, John. And another question, this one from Pelek Falslund from Norway, but also working out of Zambia. And he referred to Kent's comments about adding collaborative goals with the country's individual goals. So in terms of coaching and coaching development, what kind of goals and results and processes are you looking for from a collaborative sense? Do you set goals as a group? Are there particular results that you're looking for?
We are not as far as we've been working detailed with that. It's more of ideas and concrete collaboration. But one added value in Sweden is that we have worked with 3 universities, building a framework based on the ICCE criteria. And we've been now mapping all the courses, and that is for the next generation of coaches. So that's a big goal, and that's something that we are telling all the other Nordic countries about at our meetings. So I think we will really help each other to see where we push different coaching development areas into each other's countries, and that will have an effect on us. Norway, Finland will have their own things, and we will really listen and put up new goals out from that, but not the common goals as asked.
Great. Okay. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark, so I think it's time to wrap it up. But I'd like to really thank all of our panel here for the great job you've done in sharing this with us and bringing forward a really interesting concept that I think we can all learn from and consider how to better collaborate and the advantages of this kind of community of practice. So really appreciate it. It's been, I think it's been great. There've been some really good comments on the screen, and I just want to bring attention to Diane Culver's comment. What an amazing answer from John Grudeland. An Olympic medal with an unhappy athlete is not a medal we want. Very powerful statement, John, and I think we appreciate the depth of the work that you're all doing in the Nordic countries. And to all of the participants in today's program, thank you all for joining us. There will be a recording online available in the next couple of days. As we've said on the cover slide, please feel free to share things on social media. Thank you all, and all the best wishes for your future coaching endeavors. Thanks a lot.